Okay, so for English today, we're going to start by looking at what is an adverb. This is part of our key vocabulary today, which you will see in this corner. Adverb, our key word, our key vocabulary. Now, we're not just looking at any adverb, we are looking at adverbs of probability, which you can see is the title on this table here. Now, an adverb of probability is a word that indicates how likely something is to happen or how certain something is to happen. So as you can see on your screen, we have a list with some examples, okay? Most adverbs that we know end in an ly, like all of these. Not all of them, but lots of them do, okay? So, an adverb of probability, some examples include possibly, definitely, certainly, obviously, probably, undoubtedly, surely, and then there are others that also indicate how likely or certain something is to happen but do not have that ly ending. For example, perhaps, or indeed, of course, just some other examples for you there. So, the first thing I'd like you to do on your thinking page is write down some examples of adverbs of probability. So, the ones that I'm going to write down, you can see, if you zoom out, are here. So here's going to be my adverbs of probability. Okay, so two that I'm going to write down are probably, certainly, or maybe. Now, I want you to think of 3 more adverbs of probability. I know you can do that, and you've got the list on this video if you need help with picking some. But 3 more adverbs of probability, please. 1, 2, 3. Brilliant, well done. So on to the next little bit that we're going to look at for our thinking side. Is we are going to think about the word because. Here we are. And we're going to use because to explain why animals in unusual habitats would be absurd. So we've already been thinking about how things like polar bears on beaches, for example. Last time, I thought about a rhinoceros in the local pond or a great white shark in our nearest woodland. And we all know that that is absurd. Absolutely absurd. But why? And I want you to help think of the reasoning behind that. So I've got a little video to show you which might help you think about animals or habitats, where they come from, where they should come from, which may help us think about why they wouldn't be in such absurd places.
What is a habitat? A habitat is like a home for animals. It's the place where they live and find everything they need to survive, such as food, water, and shelter. Just like you live in a house, with everything you need, animals have their own special place to live, called a habitat. Some animals live in the forest, surrounded by trees and plants. Others live in the ocean, swimming among the fish and corals. And some animals even live in the cold icy tundra, where there is snow and ice all year long. Every habitat is different, and animals have special adaptations, or traits, that help them to live in their habitat. Let's learn about the different habitats. The forest. Imagine a big green place with tall trees and lots of plants. That's a forest. Animals like monkeys and squirrels live here, swinging and jumping from tree to tree. Deer also live in forests, eating leaves and fruits. The desert. Now, imagine a hot dry place with sand dunes and cacti. That's a desert. Animals like camels, lizards, and snakes live here and have special adaptations to survive in dry conditions, like storing water in their bodies. The ocean. Imagine a big blue world with colorful fish, whales, and dolphins swimming around. That's the ocean. The ocean is home to all sorts of creatures, from tiny plankton to giant squid. Grassland. Think of a big open field with tall grasses and not many trees. That's grassland. Animals like lions, giraffes, and antelope live here. Some animals, like antelope, eat the tall grasses, but others, like lions, eat other animals. The tundra. Imagine a cold icy place with snow and ice all year long. That's the tundra. Animals like polar bears, Arctic foxes, and reindeer live here and have thick fur to keep them warm. Wetland. Imagine a place with swampy water and lots of plants like reeds and rushes. That's a wetland. Animals like flamingos, ducks, frogs, and otters live here and swim in the water or hide among the plants. We hope you enjoyed learning about habitats. See you next time. Goodbye.
Okay, so now you've watched that video on habitats, I hope you've got a better understanding of habitats, the different types of habitat, and actually perhaps certain animals that live in certain habitats as well. As we learnt from the video, animals have specific habitats and they learn to live in those habitats and they develop traits to help with that. So they can't just live anywhere. So we're going to think of some explanations as to why they can't live there. We're going to jot some ideas down on our thinking side before we do our sentence. So I'm going to call this bit because. Okay. Now, one of my ideas of why, for example, a great white shark wouldn't live in the nearest woodland is because it is too far away from its natural habitat. That's one reason I'm going to think of. I'm going to give you another reason, which is going to be because it may be too hot or too cold. So if a polar bear that's used to cold climates and cold weather, that couldn't live in a desert because a desert would be too hot and they don't have the right features and the right traits to manage the really hot weather when they're so used to the cold weather. Now I want you to think of at least 2 more explanations, okay, 2 more of your own. You can use the video to help you. Some of the things might be that, for example, for my example of the great white shark in the nearest woodland, that's absurd because the great white shark needs to live in water, for example, that type of thing as well. Or animals that need to live in the tall trees and in the forest with the plants. If they lived in a desert, there wouldn't be much greenery or many trees or plants either. So that's just some ideas of what you could do. And then moving on to our paragraph. And let's read through what we've done so far before we look at what we can add. So we've got, love your home. Have you ever seen an emperor penguin waddling across a sweltering beach in the sun? Would you find a rhinoceros wallowing in your local pond, or a great white shark doodling under the dappled shade of an oak tree in your nearest woodland? So, firstly, I'm going to use my adverb of probability to start my sentence. And I'm going to start by saying probably not. Here's my adverb of probability. Probably. Okay, probably not. It's not just that it wouldn't happen, but it probably wouldn't happen. And then I'm going to go on to explain why that wouldn't happen and give my explanation using my because word. Okay. That's because these animals would be far away from the environment or place which they normally live, which we would say is their natural habitats. So you can see here, I've used my thinking side to help me. I've got probably as my adverb of probability, and I've used this first section, because it's too far away from its natural habitat. So I've used that first idea to create the next part of my paragraph. Probably not. That's because these animals would be far away from the environment or place which they normally live, their natural habitats. So let's read the whole paragraph together, because that will be our paragraph finished now. Love your home. Have you ever seen an emperor penguin waddling across a sweltering beach in the sun? Would you find a rhinoceros wallowing in your local pond, or a great white shark doodling under the dappled shade of an oak tree in your nearest woodland? Probably not. That's because these animals would be far away from the environment or place which they normally live, their natural habitats. And that's the end of our paragraph for this week, for today. We've got 2 questions, we've answered them, we've got our different animals using our or, we've got different unusual sentences, we've got our adverb of probability, we've got our because explanation. What a great week. Well done everyone on writing your paragraphs. They've all been amazing so far. Keep it up.